Well, good day everybody and welcome back for another video. So, as you can tell, the garage is pretty clear of items. There's no rabbit house here now. It feels like a wide open space. So we're going to have to remedy that now, aren't we? Alright, guess what? I'm going to start another project. Now, my wife would have me start a project today of putting our barbecue together. But in the priority list of things of what's going on in the world and what's happening around here on the land, I need to start a different project, and that is a chicken brooder. Chicken brooder is just a fancy name for another chicken coop. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Basically, I want to be able to get chicks, move them from a brooder into a larger enclosure, kind of stage stepping them up in size as they grow, and getting the chickens to a point where they're big enough and old enough that they can handle themselves when introduced to the mature aged flock, and hopefully avoid infighting, or at least avoid injury from bigger chickens attacking smaller chickens. Alright, so this is all part of our infrastructure and being able to work on our capacity and expanding that capacity. So that's the idea behind all this, because as times get tougher in the coming years, or at least the next year or so, I would think, there may be family members or friends who probably weren't as prepared or thinking about what we're thinking, and kind of caught, so to speak. So we may need to fill some gaps for our family and friends, and having an expanded capacity helps to do that. So I want to be able to house more chickens, produce more eggs, and if people need to chip in on feed costs in order to get the return of eggs or meat or whatever in return, then I want to kind of build that out. So all part of the plan B's and plan C's and preparations, for what seems to be looming on the horizon. And we got into that last video, so I'm not going to overbear you with that. Alright, so basically I'm going to be making a smaller chicken coop, but if you know me by now, you know full well that I'm likely just going to over-engineer this one as well. But I'm going to be trying to do this one a lot faster, I'll be honest. All my projects in the past have been dragged out slow while I was learning, real kind of step by step, letting the memory card size dictate how much I did in a specific session sometimes. But this one I'm just going to really try to head into this full bore. We have 5 new layer chicks coming on, I want to say the 21st of June. So I need to be kind of ready for those. We'll probably be putting them in a plastic tote like we did with our first chicks. If you want to go back and see our brooder setup video, I'll try to link it if I remember. But we used a plastic tote, and it worked out great for a small number of birds. We only had 4 chicks at the time. I need something for a bit more capacity for growing out meat birds to the point where they can go out on the grass and whatnot. So I'm going to be doing a 4-foot by 4-foot enclosure, which is probably about half the size of my main chicken coop out there now, and trying to use some lighter materials, make it portable, and we'll see how it all pans out. It's going to be shorter, not able to get inside it, just going to have a flip open lid, stuff like that. Real custom built purpose for the brooder, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I can get this project done a lot faster than the coop, because I think the coop I did over a period of like 28 videos. Very detailed videos. You should go watch the playlist. I'm not downplaying it, but this is just a brooder. Try to get this banged out and functional, because like I say, 21st of June is going to be here soon. And I need to be ready for those chicks once they come out of the plastic brooder and become poults. They'll go into this brooder till they grow out to more mature chicken size, and then they'll join the main flock. That's the plan. So there you have it. That is the project. Chicken brooder slash coop. And I don't know. I'm going to see how fast I can build this one. We'll see how many sessions this takes. But we're going to start session number 1. Get straight into making the base. And we'll go from there. So let's get started. Alright, so first and foremost, I got some plywood. And this is a thinner plywood. I don't know if this is 5/8, something like that. Anyways, it's definitely not the size of plywood that I typically use, because I'm trying to cut down on weight and on cost. Get this set up. And I'm really hoping with this coop, like I say, by reducing the weight and materials used, to get something that is portable yet firm, that the wind's not going to blow it away, and end up with a good product at the end of it. And by doing 4x4, I'm hoping that my dimensions are going to work out to be easier for the purpose of cutting and fitting and all that good stuff. Alright, so let's get this 8-foot by 4-foot sheet cut in half, and that'll give us our size for our base and a cover for that, and we'll go from there. Alright, so now that I got my plywood done, I'm going to use that plywood as a platform and get my fiberboard cut now as well. Now by rights I could have just done the fiberboard with the plywood at the same time, but I just wanted to make sure that everything was squared up, same size, and do this properly. So I'm going to cut my 4x8 fiberboard, because if you see me, I use that with the rabbit house, the walls of the rabbit coop, as well as my chicken coop, just for easy cleanup. So this is going to be no different. I'm going to include it here as well, and I'll get that cut down to a 4x4 sheet as well. Alright, so I think this is going to be a nice sized brooder. Now the base looks to be of a manageable size, and hopefully if I can build this, you know, as lightly as possible as far as materials go, I think I'll end up with something that is portable, probably that 2 people can carry, or put it on some sort of skid which could be towed by the lawn tractor would be ideal, I think. So this is going to be an outdoor structure, obviously. It's not going to be something we bring inside the house. And it's going to be made to last. So with all that said, now I have some 2x4s on the floor right there, along with the plywood. And I'm going to take those 2x4s outside, run them through the table saw, cutting them in half. So I should end up with, out of each 2x4, I'll end up with 8 feet in length, but it'll be 1.5 inches by 1 3/4 inches. Similar to what I did on the rabbit house, just to expand my material. So that's the idea. Hopefully I'll make my material last to the end and not have to go back for more, but we shall see. So let's head outside there now. I'm going to get the table saw set up, and I'm going to set up the miter saw as well, just for making cuts for the frame. So I'm going to be ambitious today, get all set up, and let's see how much we can get done. Alrighty, so now that I got my 2x4s ripped in half, I'm going to start building a frame around this 4x4, this 4x4 platform. Alright, so if everything went to plan, this should be exactly 4x4, but I'll double check to make sure. And Yes indeed, exactly 4x4. So I'm going to go back out to the miter saw now, and I'm going to take some of that 2x4 that I just ripped down, and I'm going to start creating a square outside frame. And basically the two sides are going to be 4 feet, but the two end pieces are going to be 4 feet minus the thickness that I just cut it through, which is going to be 1 3/4 inches. Alright, so 1 3/4 inches off either side is going to be 3.5 inches. Take that off of the 4 feet, which is 48 inches, and you're down to 44.5 inches will be the top and bottom pieces. Alright, so I'm going to get 2 at 4 feet and 2 at 44.5, and those measurements should all equal out the way we need it. So yeah, let's head outside to the miter saw, get those cut. We'll come in and we'll start our first stage of assembly. Okay, so with all of our cuts done, let's sandwich this together now and see if it worked out properly. I would like to think that it did. Alright, and that looks great. So at this point in time now I'm going to try and get everything glued and screwed a little bit. But everything's going to be sandwiched together by 2 pieces of plywood. So I don't need to go too crazy putting together the frame. Probably even just like 1 screw in each board just to keep it together while I get the top on it and get everything put together. Alright, so as you've seen, I just gently got this frame tacked together. Now I'm going to take it off, glue all my edges, put it back on, and start screwing it in from underneath until it's secured well enough. Then I'll flip it over and finish tacking it around. If you're any form of a long-term viewer of mine, you know that my bases kind of end up being the same. I find it to just be a tried and true method now. After having the chickens for about 2 years, I find just having everything insulated is a way to keep my animals safe and healthy, and especially with our frigid and cold winters and shifting, you know, it could be raining one day, freezing the next. You know, those rapid temperature swings can really have an effect on animals out in the cold. So the more I can insulate it and calm those temperature fluctuations, then the more they can adapt and have a slower you know, change curve from one temperature to the next so they can adapt and not getting shocked as much, basically. So that's my theory behind it all. Plus, in the summer, you know, it maintains coolness longer during the hot parts of the day. You know, if it's cool in the morning, it'll maintain that coolness better during the peak sun hours of the afternoon when you get back into the shaded evening where it cools again. So again, just kind of making that temperature curve more gradual, easier on the animals, and hopefully the animals end up in a better way because of that. So that's why you see me doing lots of insulation. A lot of people online, they don't insulate their coops and stuff like that. They're just probably in different climates. I don't know. I just want to insulate mine, have it done proper. Not really done proper. That's probably a bad word, but you know what I mean. All right. I like to be thorough and over-engineer things. This is why I overbuild, because my mind always thinks of these things. So anyways, next step, if you've been a long-term viewer, if you haven't guessed it, rigid foam, like we just talked about. So, all right, let's get some rigid foam into this cavity space. Then we're going to vapor barrier that, put on our plywood, then our fiberboard, and go from there. All right. Okay, let's get it on there, and once I get everything laid out, we'll be right back. I'll go ahead and do the vapor barrier now as well. So we're trying to get this project going fast, so you're going to experience a lot of fast forward moments during this video, and more to come, depending on how many videos it takes to do this. If I can stop rambling, right? All right. Now that I got my base finished, it's time to start some walls. Alright, so I'm just going to start off some simple walls, but I do need to accommodate for a clean out door because it still needs to be cleaned out. I can't just make one big bucket and then I'm reaching in, shoveling out waste. So I want it similar to my chicken coop that I have now with a clean out door at the back. And it doesn't need to be as big as the one in back. I think that might have been a 6-inch opening. You know, even if I got a 3-inch opening, I should be able to push the waste out the back, or I may actually be installing a full-size drawer that can be put in and out. That's yet to be seen, but as for now, I'm just going to get it to the point of having a clean out door. A drawer is only just a matter of adding it in after the fact, you know, because the walls are all going to be at a stage where you can just slide something in the whole length of the coop if you want, you know. So I'll start off with my front wall, which will be the simplest, and I've decided I'm going to make my walls 2 feet high, and that'll be all the way around minus the back one, which is going to be 2 feet high minus, say, a 3-inch clean out. Alright, so that'll be 21 inches altogether. So I'm going to work out, basically I can start out with the front and back and do some top and bottom headers and footers at 4 feet in length. So I'll get those done, and I'll work out my side posts to give me a total of 2 feet. Right, they're going to be going in at 1 3/4 inches each. So I'll take 3.5, so it'll be 20.5 inches for my side posts. So I'll do 2 posts at 20.5 and 4 at 48, and then I'll work out the back clean out door, and we'll get those done. Because I can't attach the rear one until I got the side ones to pinch in on it. And you'll see how that works. We should be able to get at least 4 doors done, 4 walls done today. But I'm going to keep pushing. I'm motivated. I'm going to see how much of this I can get done today. We may surprise ourselves. We'll see. Alright, so I'll get it to the miter side, do 2 at 48. What did I say? 2 at 20.5. And we'll go from there. Let's go outside. Alright, so that's framed up good. We'll get some screws and glue on that. And let's say we will be making a little door onto it, but I'm just going to get the frame put together for now and get that to start setting up. So now that I got the front wall done, I'm actually going to go ahead and do the rear wall now as well. It's going to be a copy and paste of the one I just did, minus 3 inches for a clean out. Actually no, it's not going to be the same. And the reason because this one goes right down to the base and provides support, whereas the one in the back I want it sandwiched between the 2 side walls, which are going to hold onto it. So I should actually go ahead and do my 2 side walls right now. So the 2 side walls are actually going to go, let's see if I can show you here. 2 side walls are going to go from this area all the way back flush with the back of the platform. Alright, so this 1.5 inches has to come off of the 48 inches in length of that wall, because this is full width. These are going to go all the way down to the end, minus this 1.5 inches. So 48 inches minus 1.5 inches is 46.5. So I'm going to cut 4 right now at 46.5. And that'll give me my two sidewall headers, and then I'm still good for the same height. So these 20.5s, I'll still do 4 of those as well. All right, so I gotta try and keep track of this in my head. So 4 at 20.5 and 4 at 46.5, and we'll go get that done. Alright, so just to be sure, I'm going to label this front, and I'm going to lay this aside, and we'll start assembling the sidewalls. So we've got a header and a footer for each of those, and our sides. So up to this point, all of my measurements should be correct, so I'm happy enough to put this together. Alright, just double check 46.5, spot on. So we'll start getting this together now. Okay, so first sidewall is assembled. So I'm going to test fit this now. I'll put that down this side, and then I'll put my front on, like so. And the corners should end up flush. And they are. So success there. Now, one thing I'm going to have to do, I put these particle board screws in, but they're making the wood rise up way too far. So I'm going to take all them back off, and I'll use the wood to squeeze those down and into the wood. Do it that way. But since I got 2 walls, I could very well go and put 2 of them on right now, but I'm just going to assemble my other side one first. Because this is a nice work area, I don't want to sacrifice it just yet. But I'm going to go ahead and assemble the other second side wall, and at least we'll have 3 sides then, minus the finer details of a door and some air vents and stuff like that. We'll tackle that as we get there. So, it's good to see once you get everywhere. Be careful. At this point now, I'm happy enough to install my sidewalls. So I'm going to get some caulking, run a bead down each side after I take out these particle board screws, which were definitely not needed. But the two sidewalls are done, and I'm happy enough to put them on now. So far so good. Alright, we're keeping the motivation flowing here today. Like I said, I just got a little more giddy up in my step today, especially after the last couple of videos and talking about what we've talked about. You know, I got to practice what I preach, right? So put things into motion and get the infrastructure in place as fast as I can, and pretty much try to show you guys that you can do it quickly as well. Right, it's no good of me saying to you, oh, get your plan B's in place and you can do it fast and get started now, when it, you know, takes, you know, episodes upon episodes for me to get something done. So I'm trying hard to show you that you can do this kind of stuff in one day, and it's high quality too. Like, this is not, I'm not scrapping this together. It's insulated, vapor barrier bottom, and this will be a high quality coupe or a brooder when I'm done. Alright, so I'm going to work on the front wall now and put a door in it. I want a 1 foot by 1 foot door, and I'm not 100% sure on the front of it. I think I'm going to keep the footer as is, and I'm just going to make a horseshoe. Basically, out of 3 pieces of wood, I'm going to make a horseshoe with a 1 foot by 1 foot opening in it, and I'm going to screw that onto what I got made there now. And that's good, because this is going to be supported on both sides by plywood. Right, so what I did with the big chicken coop, and I braced everything and attached all the framing to everything else, I didn't really need to do that for structure wise, because the plywood is going to hold everything and secure everything. So I just need pretty much trim and let the plywood do the rest. Right, so like these sidewalls, I'm not going to frame in vents. Okay, when I'm done, the outside, I'm just going to stick on a little square of, you know, split 2x4, put on the plywood, trace out the holes, and the plywood will support that frame on the inside of the wall. Hopefully you know what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm just going to make, you know, 1 foot and 1 3/4 high, and then a header on it. Anyway, something simple. Okay, I got wood out on the miter saw. Let's go make that real quick, put it together. Little horseshoe, put on the front wall, stick that on there, and our door is done. So let's go do that now. Okay, so I got my cuts done. So the horseshoe is going to kind of look like this. Right? There we are. There's our little Stonehenge. Okay, 1 foot by 1 foot. Okay, so put some glue on this and we'll get it put together. Almost ready to open up a new bottle of Donkey Kong glue. Almost, not quite. We got to use it. It's good to the last drop. Okay, let's get the front wall now, and we'll screw this onto that, and then we'll be ready to put the front wall on. Now I do need to find the center point on this. Should be easy at the 2 foot mark. And then I'm going to go 6 inches to either side to account for a 12-inch opening. I'll get my square and make a line to line up my little Stonehenge with. Alright, so there was my center point. I got a 1 foot opening, so I went 6 inches to either side. And now I will try not to get my square full of caulking, because I accidentally put the front wall on the side earlier and got it full of caulking. But these marks are to line up this little thing like that, okay? That's our 1 foot doorway opening. And I'm going to screw down through into these, glue it, and it should be lovely. There we are. So our door attached. And now let's put the front wall on. That lines up beautifully. Get a couple of screws in this to hold it in place. This one's going to be messy. So be it. Let's keep it moving. The front wall is attached. Looks great. So we need a rear wall now. So it's going to be, like I say, a copy paste in a way, but it's going to squeeze in between the 2 side walls instead of going back against it like the front wall does. Because, well, basically, so it's going to be 4 feet across minus 3 inches. So it's going to be 45 inches, right? Yeah. 48 minus 3, so 45. So I need 2 45s. And I do want side runners. So those are going to be 20 and a half minus 3. So 17 and a half. And I'm going to have a 3-inch clean out door, I think is plenty. I think my main coupe got a 4-inch clean out door. Just to keep things even, I guess I could do 4 inches. Let's see. Let's see the difference between 3 and 4. Six is too big. 4 will be nice. Let's do a 4-inch clean out. And so that's going to be, we have a footer, 4 inches high, off of a total of 24. So we need 20 inches total in height, minus the top and bottom header and footer, which is 3 and a half, so 16 and a half. I'll double check my measurements, we'll get outside, make some cuts, come in, put it together. Alright, so let's get this put together now. We get all of our pieces again. I've used up my assembly space here now, so I'm going to be a little bit off on this. Right, having to prop this up a certain way, but I will survive. Big thing is just taking your time, line everything up properly, and it seems to work out a whole lot better. Alright, so I got the rear wall assembled with the exception of this corner, because no matter how I try to screw it together, it wants to split. And I'm not going wasting another piece to make another header. So I'm just going to get it put together, let the balls on the sides sturdy everything up, the glue will sturdy everything up, and the plywood will sturdy everything up. I am not going wasting that piece. Alright. Sometimes you just got to make a decision to accept less. So let's get the glue on here now. I'm going to want some clampy clampies for this. At this point now, I think I'm ready to put on a bit of plywood. I can't put on the front plywood just yet, or the rear, because I'm going to have a peak, or a gable, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to sheet in the two side walls, get everything squared and sturdied up, and then I'm going to work on the roof and make up some trusses. So the distance I need here is 26.5 inches. So I'll get my plywood, I'll lay that on top of the frame there now as a work surface, and I'll get two pieces cut at 26.5. Double check, definitely 26.5. And I'm going to take 26.5 off of two separate plywood sheets. And the reason I'm going to do that is because when I'm finished the front and the back, I'm going to want to stand the remainder up against it and trace out the gable shape. And so I want a bit of excess, but I want to take off the first bit so that I can stand it up. I got an 8-foot ceiling here in the garage, and I can't stand a full sheet up in order to trace it. So by taking off 26.5, it should be okay. So yeah, I'll cut my 26.5 and get those put on the sides, and then we'll see what we can figure out for the roof. Okay, so I'm going to measure out another one now and do another 26.5. I'll double check the other side, but it should be 26.5. which it is. There we are. Plywood is cut. I don't always have the most finesse cutting plywood, but I get the job done. So I'll pick this up here. I'm going to get some glue on this, and we should be good. Everything is sealed. That's all sealed. Yep, I'm happy. So I'll glue this, get that screwed on, and we'll be making progress. Lots of progress, I must say. There we are. So my factory edge is up here on top. I'm going to make that be the top of the wall. And I'm going to move this a smidge so it'll stand up on the bench. The bench will support it. And let's do it. Square up the bottom and lay it up. So I'm going to be paying close attention as well to make sure this is square as I'm getting it screwed on. Because there is a little bit of flex in it right now, just where the concrete on the floor is not totally even. So I'll make sure to line up the corners, and that should help square everything up. Not too bad. One side done already. I say this build is going awesome. Not to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it. Oh my god, I don't want to jinx it. But it's better than I had imagined when I started. I didn't know how far I was going to get today. I've already surpassed it 10 times over where I thought I would get, but I knew I wanted to go far. So we're doing it. We are doing it. Same deal. Rinse and repeat. Lots of glue. There we are. Let's get this one attached. So, with 2 walls on, it's time to start working on the roof. So I'm going to find my midpoint, which is 2 feet from the framing, not from the plywood. Plywood adds a little bit extra. I'm just marking 2 feet from there, and 2 feet again from the framing, not the ply. And the reason I want the middle is for my ridge bar, or whatever you call it, ridge support something along those lines. Okay, so I got my midline there, and what I've done, I'll grab them here now. I've cut 2 pieces of 2x4, and I made them a foot plus 1 3/4 inches, and I'm just going to attach them on those midpoints right now, and that's just going to hold my ridge bar up while I get trusses attached to it, and then I'm going to take these off. And the reason I want them off afterwards is because I want to be able to put gable vents there. So if I got a straight up and down support right in the middle of my gable, I can't exactly center a vent onto that. So I'm thinking ahead to the vents. Alright, so I'm going to get the midpoint on the 2x4 as well, which is 1 3/4. And I'm going to match up midpoint to the midpoint I just marked. Like that. So now I'll bring you guys in a little closer and I'll get these attached, and so this will give me a 1 foot gable end is the idea. Okay, so Mark will meet up with Mark like such, and as long as this is flat across the bottom, I'm not too worried about this being level as long as I got the right height. And now I'm just going to repeat that on the back end. Alright, so now I'm just going to decide what measurement of ridge beam I want. And I'll do the same thing, I'll get the midway points on this. And I'll line the ridge beam up with the midpoints on the supports. I want a little bit of a eave hangover, so I'll probably come out, I don't know, what's 6 inches? 6 inches looks good. So I'll get my total length, which is 4 feet. I'll add a foot onto that, so that'll make it 5 feet, and that'll be the length of my ridge beam. Get that in place and then try to start making up some trusses. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to even up both ends so the same amount is overhanging, and basically it's going to be 7.5 inches on either side. So at this point now I'm going to lock the ridge beam into place, just with probably a single screw should be enough. I'll do the same on the other side. And now at this point I can go ahead and start working out my trusses, which won't be too bad because I'm only doing one side with trusses, because the second side I want to be flip open. But I will need one set of trusses down at the ends. So I'm just going to work out the angles on that, no specific way. I'm just going to see what works and get those done, and we'll get them attached then. Alright, so a little bit of trial and error, but I think I got one that works. So I'll try transfer this onto a new piece, cut one, and see how it goes. Let's see what kind of overhang for an eave I have here. 5.5 inches or so. I can leave that a little bit longer if need be. But 7 inches out to the tip, that's pretty good. So I think this is a good template. I'll put this onto a good piece, cut another one out, we'll test it, and I think we'll be good to make a few of these then. There we are. Looks good. Right, so I need one here, one down at the end, one on both ends here, and one in the middle. I would think would be enough. That'll be 2 feet between them. On this side should be plenty of support. Alright, so I need this one, so 1, 2, 3, 4 more of those. So I'll go make those up now. We'll come back, get those attached, and hardest part will be over. Alright, there we are. Trusses are done. They might not fit exactly perfect, but they're good enough for what I want. Alright, so because when I put the 2 of these on together, there was a little bit of space against the wall there. A little bit of play, but nothing I'm concerned about at all. Alright, this kind of stuff don't worry me. Alright, that's pretty good right there. So I'm going to start off screwing into the ridge beam, and then I'll attach down onto the sill. And that'll be it. Seems to be a pretty good shape to me. I'm I'm getting quite excited how far I've gotten here today. I didn't know I'd get anywhere close to this, but I'm going to take a little break, and I got to get the kids off the bus. They're on their way home from school, and I think we'll get some plywood on the ends. I think we can pull that much off, and after that I think I might have to call it there, because I do have prior engagements that I need to attend to and I need to clean up. But look at this. Look at that. From scratch today. This is wicked. I'm quite pleased, if you couldn't tell. Alright, so I'm going to get the kiddos off the bus and come back, and probably we'll put up a bit of plywood and we'll see what it looks like. But before I go, as I head off to get the kiddos, I'm just going to remove the ridge beam supports, and then we'll be back after that. So now that the kiddos are home, off the bus, taken care of, I am going to get to the plywood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the whole front. So I know it's 4 foot wide, so I got a 4 foot wide sheet. So I'm going to measure the complete height to the top of the ridge line, and that is 42 inches. And I'll check the other side as well. This should be the same. And indeed it is. So we got 42 inches for either side. And at that point in time, I'll cut 2 sheets of 42. I'll cut out around the ridge beam where that's going to fall. And then we'll put that in, trace out the eave line, and trace out the inside the door, the clean out door. Do a bit of trimming, and we'll have a piece ready to go on either end. So we'll get those 2 ends done, and that should clue it up for today. tidy up a quick second and we will try this out. See if it fits. Indeed it does. Well, looks good. Say 4 feet across. The corners are going to need a bit of trim added onto them afterwards. Just because the plywood goes out a little further, but all in all, we're good. I may trim a little bit up here just so that the sheet shifts a little bit to that side. For some reason, it's not exactly centered on this, and I assume it's because the ridge may have shifted a little bit when I was putting on the trusses. So I'll take a little smidge off this side, and that should center us nicely. There we are, that is perfect. So I'm just going to put in a couple of screws to hold this in place while I trace it, and then we'll take it back off again. Alright, so now that the tracing is done, time to cut. Alright, moment of truth, let's try this one out. Let's see how it fits. Like a glove. Alright, I'm going to get this glued and screwed, and the front is done. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The back is on, front is on, the outside sheathing is on. So, wow, we've done a lot today. I did not expect, like I said, to get anywhere close to this. Not even a hint of it. And here we are with a actual structure done. Like I say, a few odds and ends to do, but for the most part, the bulk of it, as far as functionality, if we had to use it right away, it's in there. But next time we'll insulate it, vapor barrier it, put a roof on it, put some eaves on it. All that good stuff still got to happen with it. So still a lot to do, but for one day's work, ever since these kids went to school this morning until they got home now, that's what I got done today. So overall, pretty good. Alright, but as for now, we are going to finish out this video and resume this in the next video. So until that next video happens, hope you're happy, hope you're healthy, take care of each other, and peace out.